going on, everyone? It's Dave from Smart Fitness, and today I want to run down a quick little itinerary of what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today. So, with my bulk slowly dwindling out and coming to an end, I decided to look at alternative ways for me to lean out. So I came across three, we'll call it more popular ways of leaning out, as well as some commonly used practices that I would never suggest, I would never do, and then what I plan on doing amongst what I would suggest people who are new to fitness and new to the whole leaning out process would do. So let's get started here. First, we're going to talk about some fad diets that are out there that have been going on for a while. So ketosis or Atkins diets have been doing quite well for themselves. Same with, I've got notes here, so if you see me looking down, it's just I'm scrolling through my laptop so I can figure out where I'm located on here. So the same with the Ornish diet. Again, I have statistical research from this. I've used Google Scholar as well as the library catalog access through where I'm going to school and where I previously went to school. So it's not like I'm just making this stuff out of the blue. I'll post my links to the bottom in the bio, I guess we'll call it, and that will more or less tell you where I'm getting my information from. But essentially, with these ketosis and Atkins and Ornish diets, what they consist of, is basically having lots of fats with minimal to no carbs. The carbs that you do have are indirect sources. So say you have peanut butter, there's no direct source of carbohydrate, but there is indirect carbohydrates coming from it. Same with indirect protein coming from your peanut butter. Now, the pros of doing this type of diet is you're going to lose weight very quickly. You're going to lose water weight exceptionally fast because you're going to deplete your body of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates store water, so you're going to deplete it as quick as possible. You're not going to have many insulin spikes, or if you do have an insulin spike, it's not going to be anything ridiculous because it's mostly coming from your fat sources, not a carbohydrate specific derivative. So in the short term, your body can handle this. It's more or less beneficial in the short term. So when I say in the short term, anything less than like 2 months to 4 months type of thing. But even then, it can harm your body, so I wouldn't necessarily suggest doing this. And the cons, based on a little bit the research I've done, is essentially the moment you eat carbs, or a direct carb source, even if it's something minimal like strawberries or blueberries, you're going to have an insulin spike because your body's not used to it. It's not going to know how to react. So you're going to gain weight. You're going to have water retention again, and you're pretty much going to be back to where you started. According to the research that I have found, people who followed these low carb diets, in specific the Atkins diets, they lost anywhere from 4.2 kilograms, and these were overweight people who became trained. So they had personal trainers, they had people watching their diets and strictly monitoring it for the course of from 4 months to an entire year. In the first 4 months, they lost roughly 4.2 kilograms, and by the end of a year, they'd only lost another 4.2 kilograms, give or take a pound or so. So realistically, that's not that substantial of a loss. So if you're going to starve yourself with carbs and you're going to cause long-term problems to your body, and you're only losing more or less 4 to 8 pounds, and you're on a restricted diet, it's not really that beneficial. So I would suggest it. Plus the added effect of maintaining these high fat goals, you're going to consume lots of saturated fats, and it's not exactly the best for your body. As well as trans fats. Trans fats are terrible for your body. Your body doesn't know how to react to them. It's just bad in general. So at the same time, there's also low carb diets. So it's not your carbs are completely to zero. It's just, or as close as possible to zero. It's just you're having low carbs. So instead of consuming 0% of your diet, or like 5% of your diet is carbs, you're consuming anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 to 25% of your diet from carbs, and that's it. Your body doesn't convert protein to glucose sources for energy very well, and associated with these low carb diets is generally not having an increase in fats, but an increase in protein. So even though you're consuming high amounts of protein, more than your body weighs type of thing, you're not exactly benefiting your body. So I wouldn't suggest doing that either. The calories will be low regardless because you're going to have only your protein high. So your body's not going to benefit from that. At the same time, there's a Mediterranean diet where essentially you're eating loads of meat, and it's loads of fatty meats. So like fish, like fatty fish, red meats, like steaks, fatty cuts of steaks. So your fats are going to be up again, but so is your protein, your carbs are going to be down for the most part. So again, I wouldn't exactly recommend doing this type of diet either, because of the whole process of gluconeogenesis that'll work in the short term, which is essentially converting non-carbohydrate sources into energy for your body to perform some sort of work. But at the same time, your body can only do that for so long until it starts having metabolic problems. And realistically, it's not exactly the smartest thing to do. So what I would suggest is having a balanced set of protein, carbs, and fats. Loads of studies have suggested that having high fat days and low carbs, and high carbs and low fats, and low carbs and low fats with high protein are not exactly beneficial. The best thing for long-term sustained weight loss, or even if you're just trying to lean out, is having a caloric deficit. Loads of studies have showed this. So although you may be seeing from other YouTubers out there that doing these ketosis diets are beneficial, yeah, they might work in the short term, but in the long term, it's not exactly the smartest thing to do. So in my opinion, I would suggest balancing out some sort of resistance training with some sort of cardiovascular training regimen, and decreasing your calories based on your metabolic demands from anywhere from 200 to 300, and then pretty much going from there. So essentially, if you were to have, for example, say your goal is to have 1,500 grams of carbs for the entire week, it would make essentially no difference if you were to have those split up into having high carb days on, say you work 3 or 4 days a week, you have high carbs 3 or 4 days out of the week, and then you have no carbs the other days. It would make no difference because it's based on that total sum for the entire week. So you're not exactly helping your body change any metabolic process because it's such a short-term difference that it's not going to change anything. So there's no point in starving your body on the other 3 days of the week if you're just going to be eating again carbs the next day. So it kind of doesn't really change too much. And at the same time, it's about biological consistency. So if you're constantly fluctuating you're not exactly going to stimulate some sort of change when you're not exactly procreating biological consistency. Again, I'll have the links to this in the description. Everything's there. It goes into far more detail than what I'm going to talk about here. So what I would suggest protein-wise then, since all these studies have been going with high protein, I would suggest the ideal range of having 0.7 gram to anywhere from 1 gram to 1.25 grams of protein per body pound, pound of body weight, sorry. Any more than that, you're just gonna pretty much be having expensive pee, because your body converts protein into amino acids, which then get converted into protein sources that are usable by the body. If the body can't use it, it just essentially excretes it out in urea. So it's gonna come out through your pee, or it's gonna come out through your poo. So you're not exactly helping your body by having loads of it. So in another study that I actually looked at here, it's talking about Weight Watchers. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I would definitely stay away from Weight Watchers, because essentially all it is even though it's a well-distributed range of macronutrients, it's not exactly the best way to go about it. It's just essentially protein, carbs, and fats are decreased, but it's decreased to a point that you can't really have any growth to stimulate fat loss once you've no longer stopped losing weight. So you pretty much gain the weight all back the moment you stop. And their diets are pretty restricted to more or less taking supplements and eating their food. So I wouldn't exactly talk about it. Now, you guys know that Carly's cutting based on my previous video. So I've actually got a couple examples of what her meals are like. So Carly tends to have chicken burgers, tuna, black bean burgers, and she'll have like one of those 3 protein sources, and she'll have like lettuce or something like that. She'll make some sort of salad where she's going to add olive oil to it and to get her fats up in it as well. Typically, Carly doesn't have some sort of carb overdose throughout her day. Right before she works out, she'll have some sort of carb source, and right after she works out, she has a larger portion of her carb sources for the day. And then upon waking up, she'll have carb sources as well. Now, the whole having high carbs throughout the day, or in the morning, is rather debatable because of the whole purpose of stimulating fat loss. Research suggests that having higher fatty breakfasts and higher protein breakfasts stimulate the metabolism to actually help with free fatty acid oxidation, which essentially leads to your body using the fat that you have stored to lose fat that you see on your body for weight loss or for weight gaining purposes, more or less. So I wouldn't exactly suggest doing that. Now, a couple examples of what you could do for snacks. What Carly does is she'll have yogurt, like lactose-free yogurt with strawberries. They're gonna spike some sort of a glycemic response, but their carbs aren't over the top high or anything like that, so it's not too bad per se. And at the same time, she'll have blueberries with that as well. At the same time, she also has low glycemic responding foods, so stuff like potatoes, sweet potatoes, where they're not going to cause an insulin spike. They're going to have a sustained release, they're going to be slower digesting carbs, and they're not going to be high in carbs either. So you can eat a fair amount of carbs without it actually harming your body. So this is just something to think about, guys, when you're deciding whether or not you should lean out and which route you should go to. At the end of the day, it's all about having a caloric deficit and meeting that caloric deficit with some sort of exercise regimen where it's going to be intense and your body's going to respond to it in a manner that it's either going to lose weight or you're not going to change at all, where you're going to have to come back to that process to decide you want to increase your workload, so staying in the gym longer, or you're going to be pushing harder, or decrease your calories. You're eventually going to reach a point in time where you can't just keep increasing your workload at the gym because you're no longer getting anything out of it. You're going to lose that intensity and you'll have to lower your calories. All right, guys, let me know what you think. I don't want to keep you any longer. Stay strong, ladies and gentlemen.